Hi, everybody. It's Diane from Diane's Corner. And I'm going to start with a little bit of Buckman history here. I told you that my dad was the plumber, and that was Bill Buckman with the plumber. And his brother Franklin had the grocery store, and his brother Lester worked in the post office. So they eventually all became businessmen. However, I'm going to start with, I'm out here at the ball field on the western edge of Belfield so that I can get some good pictures here and also good sound. But I was going to show you a picture of the Buckman who came from Germany, near Hamburg, Germany, and his name was John Buckman. They called him John Buckman Sr. Now, you get a little confused with all the same names, but John Buckman Sr., I can turn it around here for you, show you a picture. They came to Chicago with his wife, Christine, in 1882. He had, as a young man, was a sailor in the merchant shipping. And in Chicago, he worked at the plastering trade, which was quite plentiful during the Reconstruction period after the Great Chicago Fire. So they lived in Chicago for 10 years. And then through the influence of his brother-in-law, Adolph Schurke, he came to Belfield in 1892. So I want to show you a picture of John Buckman Sr. and Adolph Schurke and Pete Selman in 1891. If I can get myself turned around here a little bit. Here's where I am. Okay, so there's that barn I was talking about yesterday on the west side of town here. So here is John Buckman, and Pete Selman is in the middle. Adolph Schurke's on the end. These guys were really big guys, and they worked the railroad. They were working on the railroad to make money. So I brought that picture here to show you that. So let's see if I can get this situated here. Okay, so when their first home, okay, that's why I'm out here, was dug into a scoria hill on the west side of Belfield. And it says John Buckman worked on the railroad for about 5 years, and during that time he started accumulating a new herd of cattle, a few more each year until 1897, when he quit railroading and went into ranching, locating at the head of Government Creek near the present site of Bill Jaworski's ranch. During that time, he also took a homestead 2 miles north of Belfield, and which is still in the family today. So the family that consisted of 5 children. Tillie was born in Germany. Anna and William was my grandfather, was born in Chicago. And John and Charlie, the youngest, were born in Belfield. So William married Lillie Frank from Wisconsin. Her brother had come to Belfield, and I had talked about him on one of my earlier videos where John Frank came. And then Lillie came. She had asthma, and she found that the air quality in North Dakota was drier, and that she really got healed and never had any problems with asthma here in North Dakota. So that is the family of my grandfather, William. Now, he was born in Chicago. So he had married Lillie Frank and had 3, Franklin, William, my dad, and Lester. And then there was also John, that was would have been a brother to my grandfather. He had 2 children, Louise Buckman and Clarence Buckman, and also Charlie. Now, Charlie had 3 girls, and they did not settle around here. But Louise son of John Buckman Jr., he and his wife Bonnie had 11 children on a farm 3 miles east of Belfield here, which they still have. And Clarence married Irene and was manager of the Belfield feed and grain elevator for many years. So he had Irene, Bob, and Kathy. Okay, so now I'm going to, I think I can get outside now and be able to relate the walking story part of it here. So you can see where they are, where this family started out. Maybe I better take my papers just in case I forget some dates here. Let's see. Okay, so there's the baseball. Oh, it's a gorgeous day out here. That's the baseball field with the lights and just so professional looking. And there's the barn. So I'm going to walk over here to that hill up there, that hill that looks like it's brown. Well, inside of that hill, if you dig into it, it's scoria. So, so John Buckman Sr. brought his wife from Chicago and their children, who I just named all the children. Tina, I think, was the oldest. And they did not appreciate living in the side of a hill too well. The ladies didn't. So they did proceed to build some shelter for them. And that's when they got that farmstead. So now these are some more newer homes. Here, I'm looking over to the south here. Now this is George Hoffman's barn again. And I'm looking south. Isn't it a beautiful blue sky day? You can see for miles. And it's a gorgeous walking and hiking day. So yeah. So he was born in Chicago, and then my grandfather was born in Chicago, and then he moved in 1892 to Belfield. And it seemed like a lot of people worked on the railroad, and he did get that job on the railroad to start building up some cattle, bought some cattle. So then he met Lillie Frank in Belfield, and they got married in 1910. So they got married. They went all the way to Wisconsin to get married, though. Back home, she came back then afterwards. So that was a community that entertained in their homes. They're getting closer to that hill. I think I could almost walk across Highway 10 here, get a little closer to it. You can even see. Now this is what some people would say it is. Yeah. Well then, so that was when Grandpa married Lillie. Then they got some property out in Pleasant Flats out in the Badlands, and they lived there. And Franklin, that was the older brother, he was there. So I just crossed Highway 10. So that's old Highway 10. And then there was a sudden death. The Grandpa John Buckman, he died suddenly. And so then William, that was living out in Pleasant Flats, he and Lillie moved with Grandma, that would have been great Grandma Buckman, a mile north of Belfield here anyway, where they stayed and she stayed out there. And then that's when my dad was born, was when they moved out to that farm north of Belfield a mile. And there is another, I'll walk backwards, you can see what we're looking at. Oh. So that's where they grew up, had their family, was a mile north of Belfield. And then Franklin grew up and he married Eleanor Ding, and they had the grocery store for many, many years. There. Now, kind of overlooking the west side of Belfield, and there's those homes that I was showing you yesterday. Along this lovely January 6th. Can't believe we can have this wonderful weather. It's absolutely gorgeous. I'm using my running shoes, don't even have snow boots on today. So that's the history of how the Buckmans came here originally. Anyway, because I kind of had missed that little piece of it as we were talking about it from Grandma Buckman coming from Wisconsin with her brother, John Frank. Then when she met William Buckman Sr., they got married in Caroline, Wisconsin, and then farmed and ranched out mostly north of Belfield there. But a few years out in the Badlands there by Pleasant Flats. Yeah. So this is a pretty straight path today. I'm going to follow this Highway 10. I was talking about some of the homes up here. These two homes are built by Frank Cadamus. Oh golly, I think might have been in the 80s. He and Betty had those homes. And while I'm walking down here, these are all filled in here with different homes. And I happened to mention the drive-in when my dad had put the plumbing in for the drive-in. He had the sink in the backyard, tipped over, of course, and we were playing dolls in it. That was the time I broke my nose when it fell over the top of me. But anyway, they built this drive-in on the west side of Belfield here, and it was here for a while. And Vicki Palanchik Orton had this story that she worked for the drive-in, and I kind of forget what person was that she worked for, but they had the cars at their stations, and the girls would have roller skates on, and they would go to the cars I can imagine Vicki doing that. She'd be able to balance a tray of food with roller skates and take it from the drive-in in over to the different cars that were there waiting for their food after they ordered it. So that drive-in was there for quite a while, and I can remember going over there for hamburgers once in a while. But it's not there anymore. And then this was the trailer court I was trying to describe to Gloria. I thought maybe that's what she was thinking of as far as a trailer court. I think this is the first trailer court. I could be wrong, because now they did have that add-on of all those trailers. And then on the south side, there's a huge section of trailer houses. So, well, this just goes on and on. I hope you're enjoying this hike on Old Highway 10 here. I'll check out, see, there's like a frontage road here. And I do not know who live in these homes now. But yeah, this is the kind of what you might have looked at if you were pioneering in the 1870s. So they came here way back, and they were quite the sturdy people to make a go of it, for sure. But they did like to entertain at home. Actually, my grandfather was very musical. He got out the accordion, played by ear, and that's kind of how we would celebrate our birthdays, would be going out to that farm about a mile north of town here, and Grandma would make a birthday cake, and we'd have birthdays celebrations. Of course, they had pigs and they had chickens, and the chickens were wild. They would be out pecking away out on the gravel or whatever. And boy, if they didn't like you, they could fly up on your shoulders and give you a peck. I was kind of afraid of those chickens. Yeah. But my goodness, they were tough people. They would butcher those chickens, and there'd be a bunch of chickens, and everybody would come together. And my grandmother, she took the head off. And other ladies would take off the feathers, put them in hot water, and take off the feathers. And there'd be all this cackling going on. It was quite a interesting day, but they'd get it all done in a day, get all those chickens done. And of course, we appreciated a good chicken dinner after all that commotion. And then they had these pigs. They had this pig barn with large weeds, a certain kind of variety of weeds that protected the pigs. And I don't know, we'd play in there too. They let us play once in a while in there. Get in there and chase those little pigs around. Oh golly, here's something. This is all storage units. That's all new. I should have mentioned that as I was going by. So here's where I am. Here's Shelley. Wolfgram lives here on the end of the street here. And he's got a nice collection of tractors there, the green tractors. And they also had horses. So my dad would tell stories about on Sunday, he and his friend George Bolts would get on their horses, and they could actually ride quite a while on a Sunday afternoon. So this is that trailer court, I think. I was trying to think if that's what Gloria was talking about on the west side here where the drive-in is. So it's empty. There isn't anybody left in this. But this was all filled during the boom, the oil boom, which was like 4 or 5 years ago now, I guess, by the time it started. Now this is looking this direction. So this is what I'm thinking is the place where the old drive-in was, where Vicky had her roller skates on delivering food to people. That must have been quite a sight. So, and here we are coming up to the Heart River again, and the bridge coming into Belfield. And we're on Highway 10 West and 4th Street. So then actually Grandpa Buckman, let's see, I was trying to think here. They lived on the farm until his sudden death of a heart attack, January 12th, 1957. And then Grandma Lillie moved to Belfield, where she lived until 1976. Yeah. So I kind of added a little bit more to fill in where I had kind of not all together given you the whole Buckman story. Probably have a few gaps in it, but that's a little partial story for you. So they were interested in the railroad, getting that railroad going, and they worked for it. So I just heard the train go by. Did you hear the whistle? Ah. Well, you have a good day, everybody. It's a gorgeous day in North Dakota. Bye now.